Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that life isn't just sunshine and laughter. There are days when we're up against emotions so heavy they feel impossible to shake, days when negative feelings sneak up on us and settle in as if they belong. But let's be real, these feelings are a part of the journey. They come and go like waves rising and falling, and they're woven into our stories for a reason. They test us, yes, but they also teach us. When we're caught in the grip of negative feelings, our first instinct is often to resist, to push them away, or to bury them. But there's a quiet strength in allowing ourselves to simply acknowledge those feelings. To stop and say, yes, I feel this, whether it's sadness, frustration, anger, or disappointment. Each feeling is valid and deserves a space to be felt. We often rush to fix or escape emotions we label as bad, yet in doing so, we lose an opportunity to understand ourselves on a deeper level. Acknowledging our feelings doesn't mean letting them take over. It means recognizing their presence without judgment. Sometimes we're taught to see negative emotions as weakness, as if feeling sadness or fear somehow makes us less capable or strong. But let me tell you, there's a remarkable power in acknowledging what we feel, in standing face to face with those emotions without backing down. We're giving ourselves permission to feel fully, to experience the richness of human emotion. In those moments, we're actually gathering strength. When we allow ourselves to feel what's there without pushing it aside, we're honoring our experience and our truth. There's nothing weak about feeling. It's one of the most courageous things we can do. Acknowledging our emotions isn't about wallowing in them, and it's certainly not about letting them define us. It's about standing as an observer of our own inner landscape, watching what arises and giving it room to exist. Imagine it like standing on a shore and watching the waves come in. You don't control the waves, but you're aware of each one. You notice how they rise and fall, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully. In the same way, our emotions ebb and flow, and when we observe them without pushing or pulling, we find peace in simply witnessing them. When we acknowledge our feelings, we also invite a kind of self-compassion that can be transformative. Think about it. When a friend is hurting, we don't rush to dismiss their pain, we listen. We offer a shoulder to lean on, a safe space to be heard. And yet, we rarely extend that same kindness to ourselves. By acknowledging our own feelings, we're saying, I'm here for you. It's an act of self-love that reminds us we're worthy of the same gentleness we offer others. This simple acknowledgement is a step toward healing, as it gives us permission to sit with our feelings without pressure to immediately change them. The more we practice this acknowledgement, the more we learn that our feelings are messages. They're trying to tell us something, to point to what needs attention, healing, or change. We learn that negative feelings are not random or meaningless. They're signals guiding us. When we feel sadness, perhaps it's reminding us of a part of ourselves that needs nurturing. When anger arises, it may be calling for a boundary to be set. By acknowledging these feelings, we start to uncover the messages hidden within them, messages that can be liberating and empowering. A big part of acknowledging our feelings is letting go of the fear of judgment from others, and most importantly, from ourselves. Too often we criticize ourselves for feeling a certain way, questioning why we aren't over it or why we can't just be positive. But emotions aren't something to be fixed. They're a natural response to our experiences. In allowing ourselves to feel without judgment, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of guilt and self-criticism. We realize that these feelings don't make us any less capable, any less worthy, or any less lovable. There's also a profound sense of connection that comes from allowing ourselves to feel openly. When we acknowledge our emotions, we remind ourselves that every single human being goes through struggles, doubts, and fears. It's in feeling fully that we connect to our shared humanity. We realize we're not alone in this journey. It's a reminder that life is a shared experience, that we're all walking this path together, and that feeling deeply is simply a part of being human. Finally, when we allow ourselves to acknowledge our emotions, we create space for healing and growth. Instead of running from our feelings, we're sitting with them, understanding them, and in doing so, preparing ourselves to move forward. There's a quiet strength that builds with each moment we allow ourselves to feel. It's a strength that reminds us we are resilient, that we can face whatever comes our way, and that our feelings, no matter how challenging, are part of the beautiful, messy, transformative process of becoming more fully ourselves. The words we say to ourselves hold tremendous power. Our inner dialogue shapes how we view ourselves, how we face challenges, and how we move through the world. Yet so often we allow that voice inside to be overly critical, casting doubt on our abilities or belittling our worth. Shifting this inner dialogue is not about ignoring reality or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about choosing words that uplift rather than words that pull us down, words that make us feel strong instead of small. It's about becoming our own biggest advocate and ally. This shift begins with awareness. Many of us have internalized messages over the years from society, family, or past experiences that tell us we're not good enough, not strong enough, not deserving enough. These messages become ingrained, and without realizing it, we start to believe them. But the truth is, we have the power to rewrite those stories. We have the power to catch ourselves in those moments of doubt and ask, is this really true? Often we'll find that these beliefs are not grounded in truth, but are old tapes playing in our minds. Becoming aware of them is the first step toward change. Once we're aware, we can start to gently challenge those limiting beliefs. Instead of saying, I can't do this, we can ask ourselves, what if I tried? What if I could? This simple act of questioning opens the door to new possibilities. Our brains are wired to believe what we repeatedly tell them. So if we feed ourselves words of encouragement, if we allow for a positive inner dialogue, we start to reshape our beliefs about what's possible. It's a process, yes, and it takes practice, but the effects can be truly transformative. Shifting our inner dialogue also means learning to speak to ourselves with kindness. Imagine how you would talk to a friend who is struggling. You would likely offer them words of comfort, encouragement, and support. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we tend to be harsh, impatient, and unforgiving. Learning to extend the same compassion to ourselves as we would to a loved one can shift our entire perspective. It's about choosing words that are gentle, words that affirm our worth, words that remind us we're doing our best, even when things feel hard. This shift isn't about perfection, it's about progress. There will be days when our inner dialogue still leans toward the negative, and that's okay. Shifting our thoughts is like building a muscle. It takes time, practice, and patience. But with each positive affirmation, each gentle reminder, each moment of kindness, we're building resilience. We're creating a foundation of self-belief that becomes a source of strength when we need it most. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable, something we can rely on even in our most challenging moments. When we start to shift our inner dialogue, we also begin to notice the impact on our actions. A supportive inner voice gives us the courage to take risks, to step out of our comfort zones, to pursue dreams we once thought were out of reach. We become less afraid of failure because our self-worth is no longer tied to outcomes. We trust ourselves to handle whatever comes our way. This confidence builds over time, and soon we find ourselves doing things we never thought possible, all because we chose to change the way we speak to ourselves. Our inner dialogue also influences how we view setbacks. Instead of seeing them as evidence of our inadequacy, we start to see them as opportunities for growth. When we tell ourselves, I am learning, I am growing, and this is part of the journey. We shift our focus from judgment to curiosity, from fear to possibility. Setbacks no longer feel like roadblocks, but stepping stones. And with each step, we build a deeper trust in ourselves and in the path we're on, knowing that even challenges are shaping us into stronger, more resilient individuals. shifting our inner dialogue ultimately transforms how we experience life. It changes how we interact with others, how we approach our goals, and how we see ourselves. It opens up a world of self-compassion, resilience, and possibility. When we become intentional about the words we choose within, we start to live from a place of inner strength and peace. We walk through life knowing that no matter what comes our way, we have the power to meet it with grace and self-belief. Identifying the root cause of our negative feelings is one of the most powerful acts of self-awareness we can undertake. Often we experience emotions like sadness, anger, or frustration without really understanding where they come from. We might attribute these feelings to a recent event or a single conversation, but the truth often runs much deeper. Uncovering the root cause requires courage and honesty, as it asks us to look within ourselves and confront the sources of our pain, frustration, or disappointment that may have been with us for years. It's a journey of self-discovery that can unlock layers of understanding and healing. This journey to the root of our emotions often begins with questions. When a feeling arises, we can ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? If an answer comes quickly, because I'm upset about this situation, we can go a step further and ask, why does this situation upset me? By peeling back these layers, we're able to reach a point where we start to see the core of what's really going on inside. Often it's not the surface level issue that's causing us distress, but something deeper, perhaps an unmet need, a fear, or even an old wound that hasn't healed. Uncovering these root causes allows us to see patterns that might have been present for a long time. Maybe we've noticed that certain situations always bring out feelings of inadequacy or anger, and by tracing these reactions back to their source, we can start to understand where they originated. Many times, these patterns can go back to childhood experiences, moments when we felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy. Recognizing these origins can feel vulnerable, but it's also liberating. It gives us insight into how past experiences are shaping our present responses, and with that awareness, we can begin to break the cycle. Identifying root causes can also show us the beliefs we hold about ourselves and the world. For example, if we often feel anxious in new situations, it might be tied to a belief that we're not capable, that we'll fail, or that we're unworthy of success. These beliefs are not always obvious on the surface, but when we start to explore our emotions, we uncover the stories we tell ourselves, realizing that these beliefs are not facts, but interpretations shaped by past experiences, gives us the chance to question them. We start to see that we're not defined by these beliefs, and we can choose to rewrite them. The process of identifying the root cause also opens a door to self-compassion. When we understand where our negative feelings come from, we're more likely to be gentle with ourselves. Instead of judging ourselves for feeling a certain way, we can acknowledge that there's a reason for it, and often that reason is rooted in a part of us that needs healing. By extending compassion to those parts of ourselves that are still hurting, we're giving ourselves permission to feel without shame. We're allowing ourselves to be human, to carry pain, and to heal at our own pace. Digging deep to find the root cause of our emotions also gives us the clarity we need to make changes. Once we know where our feelings come from, we can address the source rather than just the symptoms. For instance, if our anger is tied to feeling unappreciated, we might realize that we need to set boundaries or communicate our needs more openly. If our sadness stems from feeling disconnected, we may start to seek out more meaningful relationships or invest time in activities that bring us joy. Knowing the root empowers us to take action that supports our well-being on a much deeper level. When we identify the root causes, we also gain a new perspective on how we interact with others. We begin to see that some of our conflicts or frustrations in relationships are not just about what's happening in the moment, but about our own internal experiences. This awareness helps us approach others with more empathy, as we recognize that everyone is dealing with their own root causes, their own emotional histories. Our relationships deepen as we approach them with honesty and understanding, fostering a sense of connection that is grounded in mutual respect and compassion. Ultimately, identifying the root cause of our emotions is a journey toward wholeness. It's about honoring every part of ourselves, even the parts that feel hurt, scared, or uncertain. Each root we uncover brings us closer to our true selves, to a place of self-acceptance and peace. It's a journey of reconnecting with who we are beneath the layers of experiences and beliefs, and as we heal, we make room for new growth, for greater freedom, and for a deeper sense of purpose in our lives. Developing daily practices of gratitude and self-love is one of the most transformative commitments we can make to ourselves. These practices are not just fleeting moments of positivity, but intentional acts that reinforce our worth and foster a deeper appreciation for life. Gratitude and self-love, practiced daily, act as grounding forces in a world that often pushes us to be critical of ourselves, to seek more, and to overlook what we already have. By cultivating these practices, we're choosing to live with a fuller, more present heart, creating a foundation of inner peace and resilience that grows with each day. Starting with gratitude, this practice is about shifting our focus. It's easy to let our minds fixate on what's lacking, what didn't go right, or what could be better. But gratitude redirects our attention to what's working, to the blessings, big and small, that enrich our lives. Each morning or evening, taking a few moments to reflect on things we're grateful for can bring immediate calm and perspective. It's a reminder that even on the hardest days, there are still moments of grace and kindness woven into our lives, waiting to be acknowledged. Gratitude is also an anchor that helps us navigate life's challenges. When difficulties arise, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or to fall into negative thinking. But if we've made gratitude a habit, we can draw upon it as a tool to regain balance. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain or struggle. Rather, it's about finding something to hold on to, a reminder that there's still light even in dark moments. When practiced regularly, gratitude becomes a mindset that carries us through, reminding us of our inner strength and the beauty that persists even amid adversity. Self-love, on the other hand, is about turning the same warmth and appreciation inward. It's not just about liking ourselves on good days or when we're at our best. Self-love is about accepting ourselves fully, especially in moments of vulnerability or self-doubt. Developing self-love means setting aside time each day to acknowledge our worth without condition. It's a daily reminder that we are enough just as we are, flaws and all. Self-love invites us to treat ourselves with the same kindness we would extend to a friend, a kindness that honors our journey and respects our growth. One way to cultivate self-love is by setting small, daily rituals that affirm our value. This might mean starting the day with positive affirmations, a few moments of meditation, or even something as simple as enjoying a quiet cup of coffee while giving ourselves permission to just be. These practices reinforce that our worth isn't defined by productivity or perfection, but by our inherent humanity. When we make these acts of self-care routine, we're telling ourselves, I am worth this time, this attention, this kindness. Both gratitude and self-love are strengthened when we practice them consistently. They aren't just habits we pick up when we feel like they're disciplines we commit to, even when they're challenging. Some days gratitude might feel forced or self-love might feel out of reach, but that's exactly when these practices matter most. On those days, even the smallest act of gratitude or self-kindness can be a lifeline, reminding us of our resilience and our capacity to choose a perspective that uplifts us rather than diminishes us. Together, gratitude and self-love create a cycle of positivity that can transform our lives. When we're grateful, we're more likely to see ourselves in a positive light, which in turn nurtures self-love. And as we grow in self-love, we find more to be grateful for in ourselves and our lives. This cycle doesn't just happen, it's cultivated through small, daily choices. Each time we choose gratitude over complaint, self-love over self-criticism. We're strengthening this cycle, and over time, it becomes a natural part of how we live and view ourselves. Incorporating gratitude and self-love into our daily lives also impacts those around us. When we feel grateful and valued, we radiate positivity, lifting the energy of everyone we encounter. Our relationships benefit because we're more compassionate, more present, and more capable of seeing the good in others. We inspire those around us to also look within to find gratitude and love in their own lives. This ripple effect extends beyond us, contributing to a more compassionate and connected world, all because we chose to cultivate these practices within ourselves. Daily practices of gratitude and self-love don't require grand gestures. They're often found in the smallest acts, the quietest moments, the simplest reflections. Each day, as we choose these practices, we are actively nurturing a life rooted in kindness, resilience, and fulfillment. It's a choice to live with open eyes and an open heart, to see ourselves in the world with compassion, and to embrace a life that celebrates our journey, our growth, and our capacity to love deeply. Empowering ourselves with healthy boundaries is one of the most essential steps we can take in creating a life of peace, respect, and self-worth. Boundaries are not walls or barriers, but a way of honoring our needs, protecting our well-being, and defining how we wish to engage with the world. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect that tells others and ourselves what we value and what we will and will not accept. It's a way of saying, I deserve to be treated with kindness and respect, and it's an invitation to others to do the same. Establishing boundaries starts with self-awareness. We first need to understand what we need in order to feel safe, respected, and valued. This might mean reflecting on situations that consistently drain our energy, relationships that feel one-sided, or responsibilities that leave us feeling overwhelmed. By identifying where we need boundaries, we're taking an honest look at our lives and recognizing areas where we're giving too much of ourselves. This process of self-awareness is empowering because it reconnects us with our own needs, which may have been neglected or minimized for too long. Once we have this awareness, the next step is communicating our boundaries clearly and respectfully. Many of us worry about how others will react to our boundaries. We fear disappointing them, causing conflict, or being seen as selfish. But clear communication is a way to foster healthy relationships built on mutual respect. When we state our boundaries kindly and assertively, we're not only standing up for ourselves, but also creating space for others to understand what we need. Communication is an act of respect for both ourselves and the other person, ensuring that expectations are understood and honored. Setting boundaries requires courage, especially if we're not used to saying no or putting our needs first. We might feel a pang of guilt when we start, especially if we're used to accommodating others at the expense of our own well-being. But over time, each time we set a boundary, we're reinforcing our worth and building confidence. We're teaching ourselves that it's okay to prioritize our needs and that we don't need to apologize for taking up space. This courage grows with each boundary we set, and gradually saying no becomes an affirmation of our values rather than an act of rejection. Healthy boundaries also serve as a filter for our relationships, showing us who respects and values us and who may not. When we set a boundary, those who truly care about us will understand and respect it, even if it's difficult for them. Boundaries reveal who is willing to honor our needs and support our well-being. For those who resist or push back, it becomes clear that the relationship may need to be reevaluated. This clarity is invaluable, as it allows us to invest our energy in relationships that uplift us rather than drain us. Boundaries are also crucial for preserving our mental and emotional health. Without boundaries, we risk becoming overwhelmed, resentful, and even burned out. Overextending ourselves for others can lead to exhaustion and a loss of identity as we forget who we are outside of our obligations. By setting limits, we protect our energy and create time and space for our own healing, growth, and self-care. Boundaries allow us to be present with ourselves and to honor the commitments that truly align with our values, which is a profound act of self-love. In work, relationships, and personal pursuits, boundaries are what enable us to maintain balance and prevent burnout. They remind us that we are not infinite sources of energy, that our time and resources are precious. Setting limits at work, for example, can prevent us from taking on more than we can handle. In friendships, boundaries can ensure that we're investing in relationships that are mutually supportive. In our personal time, boundaries can help us prioritize rest, creativity, and passions that bring us joy. Healthy boundaries give us the structure we need to thrive, creating room for the things that matter most. Empowering ourselves with boundaries transforms our lives because it teaches us to honor our own worth. We begin to see that setting boundaries is not selfish but necessary. It's about recognizing that our needs are just as important as anyone else's. Boundaries are a way of claiming our power and saying, I am worthy of peace, respect, and balance in my life. They enable us to show up fully for ourselves and for others with a sense of clarity and purpose, knowing that we are honoring who we are and what we need on this journey. Turning pain into purpose is a powerful transformation, one that takes us from a place of struggle to a place of meaning and growth. Pain is universal. It touches all of us in some form, whether through loss, disappointment, or hardship. But within that pain lies the potential to grow, to deepen our empathy, and to find a new direction for our lives. When we embrace the journey from pain to purpose, we honor our experiences and allow them to shape us into stronger, more resilient individuals. This transformation doesn't diminish the pain, but instead gives it a sense of direction and a reason for being. The first step in turning pain into purpose is allowing ourselves to truly feel the pain. In a world that often encourages us to keep moving, to stay positive, or to look on the bright side, it's essential that we don't rush through our healing. Pain has lessons to teach, and when we sit with it, we allow ourselves to process and understand it fully. This doesn't mean dwelling in sorrow, but rather giving ourselves permission to grieve, to feel, and to acknowledge what we've been through. It's in this space that we begin to uncover the strength we may not have realized we had. From this place of acceptance, we can start to explore how our experiences can serve a greater purpose. Often, our pain connects us to a deeper understanding of the struggles others may face. It opens our hearts to empathy, teaching us compassion in ways that only personal experience can. When we recognize this connection, we begin to see that our journey could be a light for someone else. Our hardships can serve as a bridge, allowing us to reach others who are walking a similar path and showing them that they are not alone. Turning pain into purpose also means allowing ourselves to be transformed by it. Pain has a way of breaking us open, shattering old beliefs, and challenging the ways we see ourselves in the world. In these moments of vulnerability, we have the opportunity to rebuild ourselves in a way that reflects our true values and aspirations. We can let go of what no longer serves us and embrace a vision of ourselves that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our purpose. Pain becomes a catalyst for growth, one that pushes us to become the person we are meant to be. Finding purpose in pain can also involve taking action, channeling our experiences into something that has a positive impact. This might mean using our journey as inspiration to help others, whether by sharing our story, volunteering, or creating something meaningful from our experiences. When we take steps to serve others, our pain becomes something greater than ourselves. It transforms into a gift, a force that allows us to contribute to the world in a way we might not have envisioned otherwise. Each small action we take in service of others becomes a powerful expression of resilience. In this process, we begin to reframe our narrative. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of circumstances, we start to see ourselves as survivors, as people who have endured and emerged stronger. We recognize that while pain may have marked our journey, it doesn't define us. Instead, it becomes a part of our story that speaks to our resilience, our courage, and our ability to rise above. By rewriting our narrative, we take back control of our lives and allow purpose to become the guiding force in our story. Turning pain into purpose also teaches us gratitude. As we move through our journey of healing and growth, we come to appreciate the strength, wisdom, and insight we've gained along the way. We start to see our pain as a teacher, one that has led us to places of understanding and self-awareness we might not have reached otherwise. This gratitude doesn't mean that we're glad for the pain, but that we're thankful for the growth it has allowed. It reminds us of the resilience we hold and the potential we have to overcome, even in the face of difficulty. Ultimately, turning pain into purpose is about embracing life with a renewed sense of meaning. It's about choosing to live with intention, guided by the lessons we've learned and the strength we've gained. When we allow our pain to fuel our purpose, we're choosing to turn adversity into empowerment. We become vessels of hope, compassion, and strength, capable of inspiring others and making a difference in ways we never imagined. Pain then becomes more than a moment of suffering. It becomes a stepping stone on the path to purpose, a source of light that continues to guide us forward.